Fools were shamed. The intelligent are honored. What if I told you that you already possessed ancient knowledge woven into your own being, in addition to wisdom? The world calls it intuition, while some call it intellect. You exist in a unique way as the chosen one. When they see you, they marvel how they know things they didn't learn. How can you foresee events before they happen? This is a fact. According to study, people with high intelligence often feel alienated, not because they do not belong, but because they can see things that others cannot. When you mix intellect with wisdom, you get someone even more unique. Someone who not only understands, but also decodes the world. It may be fascinating to watch someone attempt to explain something you figured out 10 steps earlier. To be honest, they believe they have you on something, but all you can do is nod and say, "Oh, sweet child, I knew this before you even realized it was a question." So it is not a hallucination. If you've ever felt that your mind runs on a different frequency than others, you've found your calling. You are not simply bright, but you have insight that can disturb the foundations. And we'll discover just why people throughout the world appreciate and dread brains like yours. Hold on tight. First and foremost, you are an old mind in a new century, not just brilliant. While some individuals gain information via study, others learn by experience. Others, including you, recognize that you will be unable to adequately explain it. To completely grasp a circumstance, you do not need to go through it. The answers are there in your mind, waiting for the proper time to appear. You don't need somebody to explain things to you. People pay attention. How did you figure it out so quickly? A big question when there weren't any lines to begin with. How do you distinguish between them? They think you spend hours pondering things, but you really comprehend them fast. Your mind seems to be wired differently, as if it had access to knowledge outside your age range, beyond logic. This goes beyond intelligence. It is possible to assess, train, and enhance intelligence. What you have is something even more unusual: inherent awareness, or the capacity to perceive the unseen. A mind that makes connections that others are ignorant of. This has always existed. This is not a taught behavior. You most definitely felt older than your real age. Perhaps even as a child, you understood things that other children found difficult. You may have wondered why grown-ups did not see things that were so plain to you. People are not always sure how to react to this kind of thinking. Others dislike it, others find it admirable, and some deny its existence since it contradicts their preconceived notions. They understand, however, that you are distinct in ways that cannot be explained by education, experience, or good fortune. That is what makes you unique. You carry your wisdom. It is not something you seek. It is always accessible, ready to use or grab. It is a part of you that cannot be ignored, regardless of whether the world is prepared for it. The second is that you see the world as a concealed language. You don't exist in a random universe. Others notice coincidences, but you discover connections. You hear meaning, others hear words. You've always had a distinct viewpoint on the world. Nothing is as it seems in talks, events, or even the most little facts. Most individuals miss the deeper layer, secret message, and pattern. You can tell right away when someone is hesitating, when their body language changes, or when anything is moving too smoothly or weirdly. It's intuitive, and you notice everything without even trying before other people see anything. You don't need to spend time studying what's going on since your brain has already processed it. It is common for people to have incorrect ideas. They are baffled by it. How did you anticipate that outcome? What about the absence of proof? How did you know the truth? Why do you constantly appear to be a step ahead? You see what is really there when others cannot, and they are oblivious that you are not guessing. This might be frustrating since they can't see what you're doing. They refuse to listen when you see them in situations when you know something bad will happen. They believe their own falsehoods, but you can hear the truth behind what they're saying. They assume they are playing you, but you can sense when someone is hiding something. Understanding how the world communicates with individuals who can listen is more important than having psychic abilities. It may be recognized in the energy, patterns, and little changes in persons and circumstances. You interpret the world rather than just traveling through it, whether they recognize it or not. This is why people believe you. Why do people seek your guidance, assuming you know something they don't? Because you do and have always done it. Number 3, your quiet is a method, not a demonstration of power. When you remain silent, others believe you have nothing to say. They are unaware that your silence is a conscious decision rather than a failure to communicate. You see, before the conversation reaches that point, you already know where it is headed. You're aware of what's been spoken and acknowledged. You can tell when someone is attempting to influence you, is insecure, or is just speaking to fill a space. You take in. All of this is being discussed, not only what's being stated. That's why you don't talk so fast. You allow individuals to be themselves. They always do. With enough time, individuals will reveal their genuine motives, anxieties, and worries. Although they are just providing you with more information, they will feel in charge of the discussion. The more they say, the more they demonstrate. And you are silently learning what you need to know as they demonstrate it. This is mistaken as inactivity. They believe you are afraid, uninterested, or disengaged. However, they are unaware that silence is observation rather than acquiescence. It's a calculation. It allows individuals to express themselves genuinely without being forced to do anything. And it is never a waste to say it last. You only express what has to be spoken, nothing more or less. This gives your comments credence. You strike when it counts, rather than drowning out talks with excessive noise. Some folks find this terrifying. They are worried because they cannot understand what you are thinking. They are used to people responding quickly, casually voicing their opinions, and blurting things out. However, once you decide to speak, you do not back away. You've already won by letting quiet work for you. Number 4, you resist logic rather than follow it. The majority of individuals just accomplish what they feel is feasible. Their mental processes are simple, they're formally consistent, and they seldom challenge the rules. You do not. Who decided that this was the only way? When you look at the same rules that others see hurdles, you find doors and holes when others perceive problems. Most people see logic as a rigid framework. You see it as clay that has to be molded, reshaped, and reshaped. This explains why you seem to have virtually superhuman problem-solving ability. You wonder why the box is there in the first place. Instead of just thinking creatively, you approach difficulties in ways that others cannot comprehend. You observe various options, unique solutions, and secret passageways. They are caught in either slash or thinking. There is a fundamental difference in how your mind interacts with reality, not just intelligence. People tend to believe you're fortunate when things turn out in unexpected ways. But it's not luck. Rather, it is the capacity to alter views and defy reasoning until the seemingly impossible becomes clear. You are aware that delusions are sometimes the most major impediment. Only those who accept restrictions become aware of them. Others may be worried about this. Some people dislike it, while others love it. People don't comprehend how you're constantly one step ahead of them, how you foresee difficulties and find solutions that others would not have considered. It seems to them to be magical. This is precisely how your mind works for you. The difference is that most individuals attempt to adhere to the logic of the world. You personalize it to match your needs. Number 5, it seems that fate is moving while you're present. You've undoubtedly experienced a shift in energy when you enter a room. People gaze at you for no apparent reason for a brief period of time. Conversations halt, as if the air remembers you. It's about a deeper, invisible force that people experience but cannot articulate. It is not about appearance, fame, or status. Your magnetism differs from that of those who are charismatic or have good social skills. Who you are matters more than what you say. Or do you have a distinguishing quality that draws attention? They see you as a presence rather than simply another face in the crowd, and that presence is critical. People gravitate towards you for this reason, sometimes to the point of obsession. Some people admire you, but don't really grasp why. Others seem anxious, even terrified, as if your very existence concerns them. Your energy is dynamic, which is why it inspires rather than disappears into the background. It changes the dynamics. People pay attention to you. Strangers may open up to you in informal settings, spilling secrets and opinions they would not ordinarily share. Alternatively, some people get fixated on earning your recognition, approval, and attention. Impact is more important than conceit. It just occurs. You do not need to strive. Furthermore, This is about events rather than specific people. When you get engaged, things usually turn out differently. There are opportunities. Tensions increase or diminish. When you go into a room, you will encounter unexpected happenings. Reality appears to be constantly changing. This is referred to as fate. Some call it an aura. It's known as divine alignment, whatever that is. One thing is certain, things change while you're present. Sixth, you read the lies underlying the lies rather than simply the falsehoods. You only notice when falsehoods are readily visible. When someone stumbles, avoids symbols, behaves, or provides an explanation that is not quite right. Do most people notice them? These messages are unneeded. You notice dishonesty before it has completely developed. Not only the lie, but the motivation behind it. You interpret dishonesty, not just perceive it. Individuals believe they are fooling you, but they are unaware that you have exposed them before they ever speak. You see distinctions in energy, purpose, conduct, and language that others do not. You recognize that every lie has a reason, and the reason is often more revealing than the lie itself. Because of this, you seldom respond when someone attempts to mislead you. You know where their tale is going, so there's no need to call them out. Instead, you observe. You let them speak. You give them the impression that they are in authority by showing themselves more. The longer they fool you, the less predictable you become. As a result, people find it upsetting when they are unable to comprehend your thoughts. You do not give them the conflict they seek. You're 5 steps ahead of them. However, they assume gullibility. You let them hang themselves with their own news, even if they wish to control the narrative. Some people find this frightening. They often discover too late that they were never the ones being deceived. You were just waiting for the truth to come out, as it usually does. And when that time comes, stillness is suffice. You don't even need to say, "I told you so." Number 7. You are unexplainable. You are not intelligent. People want to categorize things because it offers a sense of comfort. They categorize these clever people as smart, creative, streetwise, rational, or bookwise. However, when they meet you, such labels are not applicable. You have access to something that cannot be explained. You don't just have knowledge without training. You can understand concepts. You provide solutions that no one else has considered. You have a precognitive sense. It's not simply intelligence. It is something more profound, something that cannot be described or articulated by credentials. People find it difficult to comprehend you. As a consequence, you do not qualify for the word intellect. People may attempt but fail to grasp your way of thinking, which may be frustrating. They believe you've done much study and analysis. They fail to see that comprehension does not necessarily result from research. Sometimes it occurs instantly, as if the information was waiting for you to notice it. As a consequence, others cannot foresee your next action. You don't think like them, even if they do. They attempt to foresee your choices, but your mind develops its own reasoning rather than following theirs. As a result, you are incomprehensible to them, unstoppable, and unreadable. You've probably discovered that although some people like something about you, others find it unsettling since they don't understand you. Some people want to dismiss you, while others want to learn from you. The irony is that you never tried to be enigmatic. You never attempted to stand out. You simply are. That is why you are unexplainable, not just to others, but sometimes even to yourself. Number 8. Without communicating, you force them to face themselves. People are scared around you for many reasons, not because of anything you do on purpose, but because of what you symbolize. They are unable to hide from you. They give the impression that you can see right through their carefully crafted public image, masks, and slogans. They believe they are being observed in an unusual manner, not because you're judging them. Many individuals find this alarming. Some people admire this quality in you. They are drawn to you because they want your enthusiasm, intelligence, and ability to see things they have missed for years. They divulge secrets and concerns that they had never spoken to you, and they do it without knowing why. They seem to assume that you already know, and in some ways you do. You may notice silent agony, unresolved emotions, and discrepancies between someone's words and their true feelings. However, not everyone is unknowingly prepared for such a level of understanding. Some individuals are scared of you while you are around them. They get defensive and furious for no apparent reason. They may even develop hatred for you without knowing why. It is not intimate. It represents their inner anguish. You compel them to face aspects of themselves that they would rather avoid, the realities hidden behind years of self-deception. This explains why people either avoid or admire you. There is no middle ground for you. The insights you give encourage others to analyze their own reality. In truth, not everyone is willing to face oneself. Number 9, power finds you, even if you don't actively seek it out. Some people have spent their whole lives chasing power, going to whatever lengths necessary to advance in society, obtain influence, and establish domination. Your unique power always seems to find you, even when you don't actively seek it. You attract leaders, visionaries, creatives, and intellectuals because you have traits that they don't, not because you demand their attention. You understand things more profoundly than others. There are patterns that forecast success and failure, underlying currents of human nature, and hidden forces that affect events. You grasp the fundamentals of influence, such as how energy, purpose, and invisible forces change the apparent world, while others concentrate on exterior procedures and manipulations. Powerful people frequently want to hear your point of view. They seek your advice or just want to spend time with you. Some people value and respect your knowledge. Others have noted that being in your orbit improves their performance, sharpness, and alertness. However, they do not completely grasp why they are pulled to you. As a consequence, you often find yourself in prominent situations unintentionally. Even if you don't intend to be an authoritative figure, people will automatically seek your guidance. People will instinctively follow your directions, even if you don't have to push it. It is not about control or supremacy. It's about understanding. You have an advantage over those who just think at the surface level because you can see the larger picture. Pursuing control does not equate to real power. It all comes down to alignment, or being aware of forces larger than oneself. As a consequence, power comes to you. Number 10, absorb, not only learn. Most people learn largely via memory. They study, read, and repeat material until it becomes entrenched in their minds. For you, however, knowledge is something you create rather than something you gain when you come across new concepts. They become more than just facts in your mind. They become ingrained in your identity, impacting how you think, see, and navigate the world. You seldom forget what is really vital. As a consequence, you absorb rather than retain knowledge, as most individuals do. When you learn knowledge, it affects your thinking rather than just existing in it. You absorb information rather than just memorizing it. You are not like other individuals who accumulate information as trophies. This is despite their outstanding resume, degrees, and credentials. Their comprehension is constricted. They are aware of things, but not really familiar with them. In contrast, you use what you've learned to develop knowledge. You may use it without rote memorizing. It comes naturally to you. As a consequence, many individuals are amazed at your level of skill. You may have a strong understanding of something even if you haven't studied it carefully. You understand things quicker than others, not because you've studied them for years, but because they make sense to you in a manner that is difficult to articulate. It seems that you just needed to identify the knowledge that was waiting for you, which is the distinction between absorbing and learning. One focuses on gathering data, whilst the other wants to be something more. You unintentionally disturb people's world. The majority of people operate inside the conceptual framework imposed by their upbringing, family, and society. They shape their thoughts, identities, and values inside a familiar and comfortable environment. Then they crash with you, and the building begins to collapse. Although you make no effort to persuade others, your sheer presence violates their beliefs. People's preconceived notions are challenged by your thoughts, perspective, and the truth you provide. You provide insights that others have never considered. You point out faults in their reasoning, not because you are arrogant, but simply because you have a different perspective. This is freeing for some. They are excited, stimulated, and ready to learn more and do new things. They detect a change in themselves, as if a long-buried need has been reawakened, even if they don't fully understand what's going on. They understand how being near you impacts them. However, not everyone is prepared for such a metamorphosis. Some individuals act violently or defensively, because their carefully constructed worldview is threatened. They oppose what you stand for. They reject you. Instead of challenging their own perspectives, they want to degrade, ridicule, or separate themselves from you. Not because you are wrong, but because they are frightened of what will happen if you are correct. People either advance within your organization or quit for this reason. You do not allow delusions to persist. You don't adapt to fictitious worlds only to please others. One thing is certain, whether they accept or reject it, once they meet you, they will be unable to hide what you have shown them. A number. You are a model for the future, not a rebel. People often think you are a renegade, someone who challenges authority, breaks tradition, and upends the established quo. However, this is not the whole picture. Rebellion is not why you are battling the system. You are neither impetuous nor chaotic. In truth, you're creating something new. You detect weaknesses in current systems because you recognize they are out of date, not because you despise them. Things are not questioned only for the sake of addressing them. Rather, you anticipate a better future for which others are not yet prepared. You challenge them. Your opinions, ideas, and planned improvements are not arbitrary acts of disobedience. These are blueprints. They provide recommendations about what may happen next. As a consequence, people often misinterpret your statements. The world continues to fall behind your vision. Every significant transformation in history was first seen as a danger, until time proved them correct. Innovators, artists, and profound thinkers were labeled as radicals, troublemakers, or dreamers. Someday, you will become a part of their family. What seems weird to others will become obvious. People are not prepared to see what you see. Thus, you will meet opposition rather than being mistaken. Some individuals thank you for this. They appreciate your foresight and ability to look beyond limits. Even if they do not fully understand your points of view, they remain captivated by them. However, some individuals respond with dread. They characterize you as tough, impractical, or rebellious because they cling to what they know. However, you are not attempting to harm anything. You are creating the foundation for the future. This leads you to often feel out of place. You are still not fully in sync with the current world. So, how about the future? The future will resemble what you have always expected. Much more. A number. People want your approval even when you don't need it. You do not always need permission to do what you do since your value is not established by how others see you. You don't desire their favor. You understand who you are, even if others do not. People compete for your attention because you trust your own judgment. You are not purposely refusing to provide your permission. It's because it really means something when you offer it. People may advise you not to take your approval lightly. They recognize that you are not impressed by flimsy shows of confidence, social standing, or superficial accomplishments. When you see someone's potential, it's because you believe they have something to give. As a consequence, your admiration is very valued, distinctive, and satisfying. This is why, without realizing it, people would want to prove themselves to you in order to gain your respect. They change their language, stress their accomplishments, or minimize their concerns. They realize deep down that your acceptance is different from the reinforcement they get from others. Thus, it is an unintentional reaction. It is not a performance. It is not offered as courtesy. It bears actual weight. Strangely, people want your favor because you do not want it. They are used to individuals who are always striving to get attention, bestowing meaningless praise, and manipulating others' approval for personal advantage. That's not what you do. Your presence is more powerful because you are not dependent. Others like your confident demeanor and want to be like you. This does not imply that you despise or reject gratitude from others. In contrast, expressing support or thankfulness is critical. It has nothing to do with dominance or supremacy. People can detect the difference, and the key is sincerity.